Alrighty. Me and my gray and black combination. I realized I match my cup sort of. That's funny. Or it's not a cup, it's I don't know what you call it, mug, whatever it is. So last week we started talking about, we're continuing on this theme of being in concert with things, in this bigger picture of contributing our part. When you think of an orchestra, there's an entire orchestra, and in the orchestra there's all these different instruments, and some of them play at the same time, and some of them play at different times. And if you took them all apart and you listen to them individually, sometimes they would make sense and you would hear the melody if they were playing a melody or something. But if you pull it apart and you see just this one little part, it would seem like it doesn't really make sense. Like it doesn't really seem to fit with anything. And it may sound kind of odd and stuff, but when you meld these things all together and you weave it all together, suddenly it becomes this beautiful sound, and this amazing thing. And music has everything in it, right? That does that. It has things that are fast and stuff, but then it has rests, and it has these things that take time, and those are the beautiful parts of music, when you hear that rest and you wait for that little note. And sometimes maybe that is, I'm using that as an analogy as to what we've kind of been in for some time. We've had to step back out of our busy lives and take this moment to just contemplate, and to be quiet, and to rest, and recharge our batteries. And I started to talk last week about how we're in a rhythm. We can get in this rhythm of life, and we might like that rhythm and everything, and things can get thrust upon us. But sometimes change in our lives is actually something that bubbles up from inside. And I think that when we take the time to sit quietly, when we rest and we recharge our batteries, that's when we can hear those voices inside of us. That's where we feel that resonance of the heart, and those things that can kind of bubble up. And we can, it may be something that we feel inspired to do, but it also can be inspired by things that are going on in the world that we maybe don't want to have going on in the world. We can be looking out at what's happening and say, this is not making me happy. I don't like this. This is actually imposing on my happiness. And I have said that sometimes that does happen to me, and I have to turn the TV off and just say, absolutely no more. Cannot read one more thing about COVID. Can't watch one more video, can't watch one more thing about, political unrest, literally can't, right? And sometimes we have to do that to separate from it. But one of the things that I love is that we also have a chance to look at things through different eyes. Many years ago, as I started sort of this journey into you want to call it self-actualization or self-growth, or personal growth type work, and all the authors that I've read over the past 30 years probably. Wayne Dyer, of course, is really well known, and one of the things that he's famous for saying is, when we change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I think that that's really, really true. It's a perception, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here. There's also the quote that is attributed to Ghandi that says, be the change you wish to see in the world. Now, on a sidebar, I'm going to go sideways for just a second, and I'll come back to that. But super interesting. That's actually misquoted. Ghandi died in 1948, and the earliest match to that particular statement is found in a book in 1974 by she's an educator, Arlene Lawrence, Lawrence, Lorrance, in a chapter called The Love Project. You can look it up online to see, this misquoted, right? There's a lot of those. I love Google for that we can find out about those things that we, attribute a quote to somebody for years and years and years and then find out that in fact it's not it at all. Maybe putting it to Ghandi or Martin Luther King or somebody important makes us feel like it's more relevant or something. I don't know, but ordinary people can come up with quotes that are just fantastic. The closest thing that Ghandi said, and I'm going to read it for you, is very similar to that, but it wasn't as concise and, as that particular thing. So it says, if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do. I think that's where the point of power is. When we're in this state of that we, all this unrest and all these things going on and differences of opinion in the world and everything that are going on, we want what's outside of us to change so desperately. But for the most part, that isn't going to happen. Although it will, as people change themselves and begin to live authentically with how they want to live. It's making the decision about, what kind of world do you want to live in? Not everyone is going to agree with you, and that's the challenging part, right? There are many people that look at things very, very differently and see the world through different eyes. It's like a kaleidoscope is what I kind of liken it to. So we have this framework. The way we see the world is based on highly from our own experiences of the world. But also, it's also part of, depending on where you have worked, but depending on where you've lived on, in the world, where you have the family that your family of origin, what religion you were brought up in, what culture you were brought. There's so many elements, and every single one of us are going to look at the world through a different kaleidoscope. We're all going to have, if each one of our experiences are those different little pieces of glass or those pieces of things that go in there, when we look through it, yours are going to be different than mine. We're definitely not going to see things exactly the same, but there's something underneath all of that, and knowing that you want to live your best life. We can't impose. I believe. Not everybody believes what I believe, but I believe that I don't think it's right for us to impose our view on the way we want to live on the world on others. I kind of have that sort of, the live and let live, in the way, do what you will, and, and so long as you're not harming another. I think that gives us choice and flexibility in what we do, and but the do no harm to others is the important part of it, because we do live in a collective. We do live together on this earth, and I think it's important we don't do harm to others or to the planet or to things that are living. And I know I live in a bit of a paradox with all those things, and I'm not going to get into the details of all those, but I think it's something that's worth exploring, to say, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So when we find ourselves in a place of disagreement or in a way of looking at the world and not understanding how it's remotely possible to even begin to look at these things that way, maybe we can step back and kind of go, what if I looked at it a little bit differently? And who do I want to be in the world? What do I want to change? What do I want to change? And if I can't change the whole thing, I can't change what's happening in the US politics. I can't change what's happening down there. I can't even change some of the stuff in my own city, for crying out loud. I can certainly try in certain ways, but what I can do is offer up my best self and create opportunities for other people to do the same, for other people to be around, the music world that I put myself into, access to original music and getting to know local artists, talking about, freedoms and choices and things like that, and living a life that, exemplifies this change that I want to see, which is of freedom and caring about one another and that kind of stuff. So that's really what I'd love to see. And I think we all have to do that. And I think what happens is, for the most part, you're going to find that there are a lot of other people that think the same way as you do and want the same things. And I think that there's a natural sort of, the law of attraction, which we're going to talk about next, I'm sure. And this law of attraction that, these people that you resonate with, people that you think the same as, and so sort of come together, and you create these little pods and these little tribes, and the more of us that can live that way and live authentically and live in a caring way, the more it influences the things outside of us. And I think that's really what Ghandi was trying to say, don't you think? If we could change ourselves, the tendencies of the world would also change. So, not being violent in our words, trying to be compassionate and understanding of someone else. That's all I have to say for today. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next